Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we sort of unpack interesting sources and pull out the key stuff for you without all the overwhelm.
Basically, your shortcut to getting up to speed.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a classic, one that's, well, it's still incredibly relevant nearly 100 years on. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right. We've got excerpts covering the main ideas, the pretty fascinating backstory of how it came about and why it stuck around.
Yeah, our mission today is really to get why this book, which started small, back in 1937,
Just a small print run.
why it blew up into this global thing, translated everywhere, and crucially, what you can still take from it today.
It's quite something. Carnegie himself said making $1 million was easier than coining a phrase people remembered.
Huh. And how to win friends and influence people definitely became one of those phrases, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A household name.
What really jumped out at me from the sources, though, was that this wasn't just, like, his opinion. It came out of actual research.
Mm-hmm. That big survey, right? The University of Chicago and the YMCA schools one.
Yeah, $25,000, 2 years. Quite an investment back then.
Definitely. And they were trying to figure out what adults really wanted to learn.
And the answer, besides health, was people.
Yeah. Understanding people, getting along, being liked, influencing them. Pretty fundamental stuff.
But the kicker was they found there wasn't really a practical book about it.
Nope. A gap in the market, you could say, which is where Carnegie comes in.
And he didn't just sit in a room and think this up. The sources show he did a lot of legwork, interviewing, well, loads of successful people.
Yeah, big names, Marconi, Edison, FDR.
Even Clark Gable and Mary Pickford from Hollywood. He wanted to know their techniques, their secrets for dealing with people.
And it evolved over time, didn't it? Started as a short talk.
Then a 90-minute lecture.
And then after, 15 years of experiment and research, as the source puts it?
15 years, with thousands of adults in his courses.
It finally became the book. So these aren't just like abstract ideas, they're principles tested in the real world.
The book even claims they work like magic. Bit strong, maybe, but...
Well, it says they literally revolutionize lives. And it gives examples, doesn't it?
Yeah, that employer with over 300 staff who found things got way better profit, less stress.
And salespeople, executives getting promotions, better pay, concrete results.
It makes you think about that William James quote,
Yeah.
about us only using a fraction of our potential.
Right. Our mental and physical resources, there's so much untapped.
And Dr. Hibben defining education as the ability to meet situations.
Exactly. So this deep dive, like Carnegie's book, is really about helping you find and use those hidden assets you have in dealing with people.
So how can you listening now get the most out of this? Carnegie had advice for his readers, and it applies here too.
First, you need a real desire, like a deep down want to master these ideas.
Yeah, don't just passively listen. Engage with it. Think about what we're saying.
And constantly ask yourself, how can I use this? When could I apply this suggestion in my own life?
Okay, makes sense. Ready to jump into the first big principle.
Let's do it. It's pretty direct. Principle 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Wow, straight in there. And the example he uses is intense. Two-Gun Crowley.
Yeah, the cop killer.
Yeah.
Even facing execution, his view was, I was defending myself. He didn't see himself as the bad guy.
It's unsettling, isn't it? It challenges how we think people see their own actions.
Totally. And he mentions Al Capone, too, feeling misunderstood, like he was just providing entertainment.
And prisoners often doing the same, rationalizing, rarely saying, it's my fault. It points to something deep in us that need to justify ourselves.
It really does. It forces you to think about our own urge to judge. John Wanamaker, the department store guy, he figured out ages ago that scolding was just foolish. He said he had enough trouble managing his own limitations.
Fair point. And even in big scandals, like Teapot Dome.
Right, with Secretary Fall. The source suggests that even when someone seems obviously wrong, they probably have their own internal story justifying it.
The contrast with Lincoln is fascinating. Apparently, younger Lincoln could be pretty cutting with criticism.
Yeah, wrote critical letters, poems, and it caused bad feelings, unsurprisingly.
But he learned, didn't he? That's the key takeaway. The source mentions that letter to General Meade after Gettysburg.
Oh, right, where Lincoln was deeply disappointed Meade hadn't pursued Lee's army more aggressively.
Exactly. He felt it could have ended the war.
Yeah.
But the letter he didn't send, or the way he framed his thoughts later, it was restrained.
Very measured. Focused on the missed opportunity, the strategic outcome, rather than blaming Meade directly. It's a
Yeah.
huge shift from just lashing out.
Shows incredible self-control, especially given how strongly he felt. It really hammers home that criticism just makes people dig their heels in.
Cuts up walls. Defensiveness. It rarely leads to genuine change.
And then there's that really poignant piece, Father Forgets.
Oh yeah, that hits hard.
This father, watching his kids sleep, just feeling awful about all the little criticisms he dished out during the day. Nagging about messy shoes, not washing properly.
It shows how easy it is to fall into that pattern of fault-finding and the hurt it can cause, even if you don't mean it badly.
So the bottom line for this first principle seems to be, criticism is generally counterproductive. It sparks resentment, not improvement.
Spot on, which leads very naturally into the second principle.
Okay, what's number 2?
Give honest and sincere appreciation. Carnegie calls this the big secret of dealing with people.
The big secret, okay.
Yeah. It's about getting people to want to do things, not forcing them, but appealing to what they desire.
The source mentions Freud's desire to be great and Dewey's desire to be important. That deep human need for significance.
Exactly. We all crave recognition, feeling valued, feeling like we matter. It's fundamental.
So this isn't just about, like, empty flattery, then?
No, definitely not. That often backfires. It has to be honest and sincere appreciation, recognizing something genuinely good or valuable in the other person.
I see. Fulfilling that need for importance makes people more receptive.
Precisely. And there's a great little story about Stan Novak and his son, Tim.
The kindergarten one.
Yeah. Tim didn't want to go. So instead of forcing him, the family made it sound exciting, focused on all the fun things he'd get to do. They tapped into his desire to join in and have fun.
Clever. And the example about negotiating the ballroom rent.
Right. Instead of saying, I want a lower price, the person focused entirely on the manager's potential gain, having the room free for other, maybe more profitable events.
And it worked. Got a big discount.
It really highlights what Henry Ford said. The secret is seeing things from the other person's angle as well as your own.
But we often miss that, don't we? The sources gave some bad examples.
Oh, yeah. Like that awful advertising copy. That's all. We want this. We want that.
Or the letter from the freight terminal guy complaining about his problems, expecting the recipient to care.
Total turnoff.
Yeah.
Completely self-absorbed communication. It just doesn't land.
Compare that to Barbara Anderson's job application letter.
Huge difference. She didn't talk about wanting to move to Phoenix for herself. She focused on how her banking skills could help their banks.
And she got interviews from almost all of them. 11 out of 12.
It's powerful stuff, focusing on the other person's needs and interests.
Owen D. Young's quote comes to mind here. Something about understanding other people's minds means you don't have to worry about the future.
That's the one. Those who can put themselves in the place of other people need never worry about what the future has in store for them. It's about empathy leading to success.
But it's got to be genuine, right? Not manipulative. It needs to be win-win.
Absolutely. That sincerity point is crucial. People can usually sniff out fake flattery or manipulation. It has to come from a real place.
So, honest appreciation, seeing their side.
And we see more examples. The dad with the underweight son who wouldn't eat.
Yes. How did he handle that?
He stopped nagging and started connecting eating with what the boy wanted, maybe getting stronger to win a race or having more energy to play, linking the desired action to the child's own desires.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Appeal to their self-interest, but in a positive way?
And K.T. Dushman's daughter and the breakfast food.
Right. She wouldn't eat it until she was made part of the process.
Exactly. Making the food herself. It appealed to her desire to be like her mom, to feel grown up and competent. It wasn't about the food. It was about the feeling.
These stories really drive home how focused we are on ourselves, fundamentally.
Massively. That telephone company study, finding I, is the most used word.
Or how we look for ourselves first in a group photo. Guilty as charged.
We all do it. Which makes that Alfred Adler quote so significant.
The one about people not interested in others having the most problems.
Yeah. The individual who is not interested in his fellow men has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. He calls it a statement of tremendous significance.
Wow. So being genuinely interested in others isn't just nice, it's almost essential for a good life.
That seems to be the implication. And look at Theodore Roosevelt asking about his valet's wife and the bob white.
Such a small thing, but thoughtful. He remembered and followed up.
It shows genuine interest, and the person inviting authors to speak by admiring their work first.
Yeah, flattering them sincerely opened doors.
Then there's Mrs. Rosedale sticking with her bank because one teller showed real concern about her mother. That builds loyalty.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the fuel salesman, Naffle. He failed when he criticized, but succeeded when he asked for help and showed interest in the executive's problems and viewpoint.
Changed his whole approach. It backs up that old Roman poet, Publius Syrus.
We are interested in others when they are interested in us.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And that story about the student nurse on Thanksgiving.
Or the lonely patient. That was very moving.
Just showing kindness, taking a genuine interest, the impact that has, it really reinforces this whole principle. It's about sincerely connecting.
Okay, so we've covered don't criticize and do give honest, sincere appreciation and show genuine interest. What's next?
Principle 3. And it's another one that sounds simple, but maybe we underestimate it.
Lay it on me.
Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
The sweetest sound. Interesting way to put it.
Yeah, the source talks about the magic in a name, how it singles you out, makes you feel unique, acknowledged.
Jim Farley comes up here, right? FDR's campaign manager.
That's him. Apparently remembered tens of thousands of names. And Carnegie credits that skill partly for Roosevelt's success.
Wow. Tens of thousands. That's a superpower.
Pretty much. But even on a smaller scale, like Roosevelt remembering that mechanic's name after just a quick intro.
Yeah, that makes the mechanic feel important. Seem.
Exactly. And it's a skill you can apparently learn. Napoleon III had a technique.
Asking them to spell it, repeating it.
Mm-hmm. Making a conscious effort. It's not just innate talent for everyone.
Even the example of Ken Nottingham and Eunice, the cafeteria worker.
Just using her name changed her whole attitude towards him. Shows it works in everyday interactions, too.
Okay, so names are powerful. What ties into this?
Well, it connects to showing attention, which leads nicely into the next principle. But first, that story about the dinner party.
Where the speaker just listened intently to a botanist.
Yeah. And everyone thought the speaker was a great conversationalist just because he gave the botanist his undivided attention.
That's funny. So listening well makes you seem interesting.
Because exclusive attention is incredibly flattering. Charles W. Eliot, the Harvard president, said that.
Nothing else is so flattering as that.
Right. And Eliot himself was known for being a really focused listener.
Like Mr. Detmer with the angry customer.
Perfect example. He just let the customer vent, listened patiently, didn't argue.
And the result?
Customer calmed down, placed a bigger order than before, became a loyal client.
And even named his son Detmer. That's amazing.
Really is. Shows the long-term power of making someone feel truly heard.
And that office boy story.
Mm.
Writing to famous people.
Yeah, the Western Union kid just wrote letters asking about their lives, showing genuine interest. And they welcomed him. He essentially educated himself through listening and showing interest.
Incredible. So listening is key. Which brings us to
Principle 4, tying it all together. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves.
okay, building on the previous points.
Right. It acknowledges that fundamental truth again. People are way more interested in themselves, their problems, their stories, than in yours.
The source puts it bluntly like, your toothache matters more to you than a famine overseas.
Exactly. It sounds harsh, but it's human nature. So if you want to connect, you need to tap into their world.
Like the bread salesman who finally got the order.
Mm-hmm. Years of trying, pushing his product, failed. Then he switched tack, asked the hotel steward about his interests, his problems.
And that worked?
Got the order. And Edward Harriman researching R.J. Funkhauser's interests before meeting him.
Smart move. Talk about what the other person cares about.
It shows you've done your homework, that you value their world.
And that last story, the teacher and the shy student, Chris.
Oh, I like that one. Seeing the hidden fire, offering him a chance in the advanced class.
It wasn't just about teaching. It was about seeing potential, encouraging him, making him feel important and capable.
Exactly. By listening, observing, and encouraging, the teacher tapped into Chris's own desire to achieve. It transformed the kid's outlook.
So these first 4 principles, no criticism, give sincere appreciation, use their name, listen, and encourage them to talk, they really form a foundation, don't they?
They really do. It's all about shifting the focus off yourself and onto the other person, understanding them, valuing them, engaging with their world.
Right. So recapping this first part of our dive.
Yeah.
Avoid the negative criticism, condemnation, complaining. Focus on the positive, sincere appreciation, genuine interest. Remember the personal touch, their name. and practice active listening, encourage them to share.
That's a great summary. The core idea is that shift away from self-absorption towards genuinely understanding and appreciating others.
So here's something for you, our listener, to think about. Consider an interaction you had recently, maybe yesterday, maybe this morning. Could applying one of these principles, maybe holding back a criticism, offering genuine praise, using someone's name, or just listening more intently, could that have changed the outcome?
Yeah, what tiny shift could you make next time that might lead to a significantly better connection or result? It's worth pondering.
Definitely food for thought. And of course, you could always explore Carnegie's full book for even more nuance.
A powerful set of ideas to start with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for exploring these with us.